Commander Ethan Hayes stood at the entrance of the massive diplomatic chamber aboard the space station, Harmony Point. He adjusted his crisp blue uniform and took a deep breath. The doors slid open with a soft hiss, revealing a room filled with the most diverse collection of alien species ever assembled in one place. Ethan was not a tall man by human standards. At 5 feet 8 inches, he had often been the shortest man in his Navy SEAL unit back on Earth. But here, among the towering representatives of the Galactic Confederation, he appeared almost childlike in comparison. The Zorlians to his left stood nearly 9 feet tall, their scaled skin glistening under the chamber's lights. The Pleiadian delegation across the room averaged 7 feet, their slender bodies moving with fluid grace. Even the Maverian ambassador, considered small among the Confederation species, towered a foot above Ethan. Dr. Olivia Reyes, Earth's xenobiologist, whispered nervously beside him. "They're all staring at us." "That's the point," Ethan replied, calmly. "We're the new kids on the block." As they walked into the chamber, conversations hushed. Ethan could hear the translators working overtime as aliens whispered comments about the humans. So small. Are they sending their young? Can something so tiny even be intelligent? Ethan kept his face neutral, his posture straight as he'd been taught in military training. He had been specifically chosen for this mission precisely because of how he would be perceived. Earth's leadership had planned for this exact reaction. Ambassador Zoltar, the blue-skinned Pleiadian who served as the Confederation's moderator, approached them first. "Welcome, representatives of Earth. We are pleased to begin formal diplomatic relations with your world." Ethan gave a perfect diplomatic bow, exactly the right depth to show respect without submission. "The people of Earth are honored by this opportunity, Ambassador Zoltar. We look forward to learning from the Confederation and sharing our own perspective." Zoltar seemed impressed by Ethan's perfect pronunciation of his name, a sound that was difficult for human vocal cords to produce. The ambassador guided them toward the central table where the primary representatives from each world would sit. As they walked, a massive figure deliberately stepped into their path. General Cragg of the Zorlian Empire looked down at Ethan with 4 yellow eyes, his mandibles clicking in what the human recognized as amusement. "So Earth sends us what is your species term? A runt?" Cragg rumbled, his translator struggling with the slang. "I expected your world to show proper respect by sending an actual warrior." Several nearby delegates tensed, expecting the human to take offense. Instead, Ethan smiled politely. "General Cragg, your reputation precedes you. Earth has nothing but respect for the Zorlians and their military traditions." Ethan's voice was calm and measured. "I look forward to discussing mutual defense arrangements later in the summit." Cragg blinked, all 4 eyes in sequence, surprised by the human's composure. He had clearly expected intimidation to work. "We shall see if your kind has anything worthwhile to offer." As they continued toward their seats, Dr. Reyes whispered, "That was close. The Zorlians are known for testing new species with dominance displays." "I know," Ethan replied. "I read all your reports." Lieutenant Kyle Winters, Ethan's security officer, took position behind their chairs as they were seated. The human delegation was dwarfed by the beings around them. Ethan's chair had been made for much larger species, leaving his feet dangling slightly above the floor. Ambassador Zoltar called the meeting to order. "Today marks a historic moment for the Confederation. For the first time in 300 cycles, we welcome a new applicant species. The humans of Earth have achieved faster-than-light travel and have petitioned to join our alliance." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Not all of them sounded supportive. "Before we begin the formal proceedings," Zoltar continued, "our tradition allows for a brief cultural exchange. Would the human representative care to address the assembly?" Ethan stood, looking small but dignified among the giants. "Respected delegates of the Galactic Confederation, I bring greetings from Earth. While we may be new to the galactic community, humanity has a rich history of adaptation, innovation, and perseverance. We do not claim to be the strongest, the fastest, or the most advanced species here. What we offer is a fresh perspective and an unwavering determination to contribute to the greater good." His voice carried clearly through the chamber, and Ethan noticed several delegates leaning forward with interest. Earth has unified after centuries of internal conflict. We have overcome environmental challenges that nearly destroyed our civilization. We have learned that strength comes in many forms, and that cooperation often achieves what competition cannot. We look forward to proving our worth as potential members of this esteemed confederation. When Ethan sat down, there was a moment of silence before various translation devices caught up. Then came a mix of polite applause and thoughtful murmurs. As the formal introductions continued, a server moved among the delegates with refreshments. When they reached the human section, General Krog made a show of reaching across the table for a delicacy, his massive arm sweeping toward Ethan's water glass. Ethan saw it coming. With reflexes that surprised the watching aliens, he calmly lifted his glass before Craig's arm made contact, took a sip, and set it down in a different spot. He did this without interrupting his conversation with the Maverian ambassador beside. Himosy Craig's mandibles clicked in annoyance at his failed attempt to accidentally spill water on the human. "Fascinating adaptive response time," the Maverian ambassador commented, having observed the entire interaction. "Your species has excellent reflexes despite your size limitations." "We've had to be adaptable," Ethan replied with a smile. "On Earth, humans weren't always at the top of the food chain." As the meeting progressed into more detailed discussions, Ethan demonstrated a surprising depth of knowledge about each species' culture and history. He addressed delegates with proper titles and observed even obscure cultural courtesies that impressed the older members. Dr. Reyes noticed something interesting as the hours passed. The initial dismissive looks toward the human delegation were gradually being replaced with curiosity and, in some cases, respect. Ethan's calm competence was making an impression. During a brief recess, Lieutenant Winters approached Ethan. "Sir, I've been monitoring communications. Several delegations have requested additional information about you personally." "As expected," Ethan replied. "Keep observing but don't interfere. This is all part of the process." When they returned to the session, Ethan found his seat had been adjusted to better accommodate his height. A small gesture, but a telling one. The smallest being in the room was beginning to make the biggest impression. The first day of Earth's introduction to galactic politics was drawing to a close, but Ethan Hayes knew this was just the beginning. The real tests were yet to come. The second day of negotiations began with a formal dinner in the Grand Hall of Harmony Point. Ethan Hayes arrived wearing his dress uniform, which stood out among the colorful and elaborate clothing of the alien delegates. Ambassador Selena Grant had joined the Earth delegation, bringing diplomatic reinforcements that Ethan welcomed. "Commander Hayes, I've read the reports from yesterday," Ambassador Grant said quietly as they entered. "You've made quite an impression." Ethan nodded. That was the plan. Let them underestimate us at first. The Grand Hall sparkled with crystalline decorations that reflected light in patterns mimicking famous star systems. Tables were arranged in a circular pattern, with Earth's delegation placed between the Pleiadians and the smaller Maverians. Notably far from the Zorlians, Ethan observed. Captain Duncan Mitchell, pilot of the Earth vessel Handshake, leaned toward Ethan. "Is it true General Craig tried to spill water on you yesterday?" "News travels fast," Ethan replied with a small smile. "The general has a reputation," Duncan said. "He doesn't like surprises, and Earth's petition to join the Confederation was definitely a surprise." As they took their seats, Ethan noticed how the other delegates watched him. The blatant dismissal from yesterday had shifted to cautious observation. Progress, he thought. Ambassador Zoltar stood and raised a glass filled with shimmering blue liquid. To new friendships and the expansion of understanding across the stars. Everyone drank, though Dr. Reyes had quietly warned the humans which beverages were safe for their biology. Ethan sipped politely at a mild fruit juice that tasted like a mix of pear and cinnamon. The dinner proceeded with multiple courses, each representing the cuisine of a different Confederation world. Ethan noticed General Cragg watching him closely whenever a particularly strange or challenging food was presented. The Zorlian spice worms are considered quite a delicacy, a thorny, plant-based alien named Representative Thorn explained, as servants placed small bowls of wiggling purple creatures before each guest. Many non-Zorlians find them difficult. Several delegates discreetly pushed their bowls aside. Ethan picked up the special utensil, similar to tweezers, and carefully selected one of the worms. Without hesitation, he ate it, maintaining his composure despite the intense burning sensation that spread through his mouth. General Craig's 4 eyes widened slightly in surprise. "Interesting flavor," Ethan commented calmly. "Similar to Earth's wasabi, but with more complexity." Dr. Reyes looked at him with concern, but Ethan gave her a subtle nod. He had researched every food that might be served and knew none would be harmful to humans, just potentially uncomfortable. As the dinner progressed, conversations flowed more freely. Ethan engaged with delegates from various worlds, demonstrating knowledge of their customs and history that surprised many of them. "You speak as if you have studied us for years," said the Mavarian ambassador. "Yet your world only achieved faster than light, travel 5 of your Earth years ago." "We've been studying the stars for centuries," Ethan explained. "And once we intercepted your communications, understanding potential allies became our priority." As the dessert course was being served, General Cragg stood suddenly, causing a momentary hush to fall over the gathering. "I propose a friendly demonstration," the Zorlian announced, his voice booming across the hall. "It is tradition when new species seek to join the Confederation that they demonstrate their unique abilities." Ambassador Zoltar looked concerned. "General, this is not a formal part of the application process." "Perhaps not," Cragg replied, "but it is a tradition nonetheless. I invite the Earth representative to participate in a simple test of capability." Ollie, eyes turned to Ethan. He could feel the tension in the room. This was clearly a challenge designed to embarrass the humans. Ambassador Grant leaned toward him. "Commander, you don't have to accept this. What kind of demonstration did you have?" "In mind, General?" Ethan asked, his voice steady. Craig's mandibles clicked in what might have been satisfaction. "The trial of strength, a simple contest used to measure potential allies. Nothing dangerous, I assure you." From the concerned expressions of several delegates, Ethan suspected this was not as harmless as Craig suggested. Dr. Reyes quickly pulled up information on her tablet. "Commander," she whispered urgently, "the trial of strength is a Zorlian tradition. It involves moving a ceremonial stone across a magnetic field. The Zorlians have natural magnetic resistance in their bodies. We don't." Ethan nodded slightly, to show he understood. This was designed to make humans look weak. "I accept your invitation, General," Ethan said, rising from his seat. Despite standing a full 3 feet shorter than Cragg, he showed no signs of intimidation. The gathering moved to an adjacent chamber where a large circular platform had been set up. On it sat a black stone about the size of a bowling ball. Around the platform, colored lights indicated the boundaries of a magnetic field. "The rules are simple," Cragg explained. "Move the stone from one side of the field to the other. No tools allowed, only your natural abilities." Whispers spread through the crowd. Many delegates placed small bets among themselves, clearly expecting the human to fail. "No smaller species has ever completed this challenge," Lieutenant Winters informed Ethan quietly. Ethan removed his uniform jacket and handed it to Captain Mitchell. He approached the platform and studied the setup carefully. The stone wasn't particularly heavy by itself. The challenge was the magnetic field that would push against anyone trying to move the stone. General Cragg went first, demonstrating the task. His large body seemed to vibrate slightly as he entered the field, but he moved the stone across with what appeared to be reasonable effort. The Zorlian delegates clicked their mandibles in approval. "Your turn, human," Cragg said, resetting the stone. Ethan stepped onto the platform. Immediately, he felt the resistance of the field pushing against him. He reached for the stone and felt how the magnetic force made it seem much heavier than it actually was. Instead of trying to lift it like Cragg had done, Ethan crouched down and placed both hands on the stone. He closed his eyes briefly and, Dr. Reyes recognized the look of concentration from his files. He was accessing his Special Forces training. With a smooth motion that surprised the watching aliens, Ethan began to move the stone using leverage and careful weight distribution, rather than brute strength. He slid it along the platform in a zigzag pattern, working with the magnetic currents rather than against them. The room fell silent as the small human made steady progress across the field. Sweat appeared on Ethan's brow, but his face remained composed, his breathing controlled. When he reached the other side, he placed the stone precisely on the marked spot and stepped back. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then Representative Thorne began to applaud, followed quickly by others. General Craig's expression was unreadable, but there was a new glint in his 4 eyes, something that might have been respect. An interesting approach, Craig said finally. Different from our methods. Different challenges require different solutions, Ethan replied. That's what humans excel at. As they returned to the dinner, Ethan could feel the shift in the room. The delegates no longer saw him as just small and weak. They were beginning to understand that humanity brought something different to the Confederation. Captain Mitchell handed Ethan back his jacket with a knowing smile. That's why they picked you for this mission, isn't it? Not despite your size, but because of it. Ethan nodded slightly as he put his jacket back on. Sometimes the best way to show strength is to let others underestimate you first. The third day of negotiations was scheduled to focus on trade agreements and scientific exchange. Ethan arrived early to the main chamber, reviewing notes with Dr. Reyes and Security Chief Ben Russell, who had joined their delegation from Earth's IAM orbital station. The feedback from home is positive, Chief Russell reported. Earth's leadership is pleased with our progress. Ethan nodded. We've cleared the first hurdles, but today is when the real work begins. The chamber was filling with delegates when the first tremor shook the station. Lights flickered briefly and conversations paused. Just a power fluctuation, Ambassador Zoltar announced smoothly. Please let us continue. Ethan caught the eye of Lieutenant Winters, who was already checking his communication device. Something felt wrong. The lieutenant gave a subtle shake of his head, indicating no information yet. Ambassador Zoltar had just called the meeting to order when a much stronger shudder ran through the station. Warning lights flashed red, and an automated voice echoed through the chamber in multiple languages. Emergency protocols initiated. Station integrity compromised in sectors 7 through 9. All personnel report to designated safety zones. Chaos erupted as delegates rose from their seats, some shouting questions, others moving quickly toward exits. Ethan stood calmly, making eye contact with his team. Olivia, stay with the ambassador, he directed Dr. Reyes. Kyle, Ben, with me. Before they could move, a deafening explosion rocked the station. The lights went out completely, plunging the chamber into darkness before emergency lighting activated with a dull red glow. The main doors to the chamber sealed automatically with a heavy thud. Several aliens cried out in alarm. We're trapped, someone shouted. Ethan quickly assessed the situation. The diplomatic chamber was now sealed off, likely due to safety protocols. Nearly 40 delegates from 23 species were confined in the space, many panicking. Ambassador Zoltar, Ethan called above the noise, his voice carrying with unexpected authority. What's the emergency protocol for this chamber? The Pleiadian looked surprised to be addressed by the human, but answered quickly. This room is designed as a safe zone. The doors seal automatically during any station breach. Another tremor shook the room and part of the ceiling collapsed near one wall. No one was injured, but the situation was clearly deteriorating. Everyone, please remain calm, Ethan said, somehow making his voice heard despite being the smallest being in the room. We need to organize. Surprisingly, the room quieted. Even General Craig turned his 4 eyes toward the human. This chamber has independent life support, Ethan continued, but different species have different needs. Dr. Reyes coordinate with the medical representatives to identify any immediate concerns. Dr. Reyes nodded and moved toward a group of delegates. We need information, Ethan said. Does anyone have working communications? A junior delegate named Flint stepped forward. The emergency system should still work at that terminal. He pointed. to a wall panel. As Ethan and Chief Russell moved toward the terminal, Flint spoke again, this time to the delegates near him. I served under Commander Hayes during the Mars colony crisis. If anyone can handle this situation, he can. Whispers spread through the room as Ethan accessed the terminal, pretending not to hear the comment. General Craig moved closer, watching as the human's fingers flew across the interface. You seem experienced with crisis situations, the Zorlian observed. I've had some practice, Ethan replied without looking up. The terminal displayed a schematic of the station. Red sections indicated damaged areas, which formed an alarming pattern. This wasn't an accident, Ethan said quietly to Chief Russell. Look at the pattern of damage. Targeted strikes, Russell agreed. Someone wanted to disable the station without destroying it. Ethan turned to address the room. We have a situation. The station has been deliberately attacked. Primary power, systems are down, and several key sectors are damaged, including the main docking bay. Shocked murmurs ran through the crowd. Communications are limited, but station security reports they're dealing with armed intruders, Ethan continued. For now, we're safest staying here, but we need to prepare for the possibility that this room might be compromised as well. General, Krog stepped forward. Who would dare attack a Confederation diplomatic station? The message system has received a transmission, Chief Russell reported from the terminal. It's from a group calling themselves Purity Front. Ethan read the message on the screen. They oppose the inclusion of humans in the Confederation. They're demanding Earth's application be permanently rejected. The room erupted in discussions. Ethan noticed how several delegates glanced at him with new expressions: concern, calculation, and in some cases, suspicion. The environmental systems are starting to fail, Dr. Reyes reported, hurrying over to Ethan. Temperature is rising and oxygen levels are fluctuating. Some species will start suffering effects within an hour. Ethan quickly processed this information. We need to restore at least partial power to the life support systems. The maintenance access tunnel behind that panel leads to a secondary control node, said a voice from the crowd. A small green-skinned alien stepped forward. I'm Technician Valeria Martinez, on exchange from Earth to Station Engineering. I can guide someone there. Ethan nodded. I'll go. Commander, that's not advisable, Ambassador Grant protested. You're our lead diplomat. I'm also the smallest one here, Ethan replied practically. Those tunnels weren't built for 9-foot Zorlians. No one could argue with that logic. As Technician Martinez helped Ethan remove the wall panel, revealing a narrow maintenance tunnel, General Craig approached. My aide Vorex has technical knowledge that might help, he said, indicating a younger Zorlian, but as you noted, he cannot fit in your tunnels. He can guide me through the comm link, Ethan suggested, accepting a small device from Martinez. As Ethan prepared to enter the tunnel, he noticed the room had organized itself. Dr. Reyes was working with several delegates to catalog medical needs. Lieutenant Winters had assembled a defensive perimeter near the doors. Even the previously hostile delegates were cooperating. I'll be back as soon as possible, Ethan told Ambassador Grant. Keep everyone calm and conserve resources. The tunnel was tight even for Ethan's frame. He crawled through dusty passages, following Martinez's directions through the comlink. You're approaching a junction, Vorex's voice came through the device. The control node should be to your left. Ethan turned and continued until he reached a small control panel. Following Vorex's instructions, he began bypassing damaged systems to restore partial power to the chamber's life support. As he worked, he heard Martinez say, Your commander knows what he's doing. Hayes always knows what he's doing, came Lieutenant Winters' voice. There's a reason Earth sent him as our representative. Ethan focused on his task, ignoring the conversation. After several tense minutes, the panel lights changed from red to yellow. Life support is back online at 60% capacity, he reported. That should buy us enough time until station security resolves the situation. As he began the journey, back through the tunnel, Ethan heard an alarming update through his comlink. Commander, Chief Russell's voice was tense. Station security reports the intruders are heading toward the diplomatic sector, and Dr. Reyes has found something you need to see immediately. Ethan quickened his pace. The situation was far from over. Ethan emerged from the maintenance tunnel covered in dust but moving with purpose. The delegates had organized themselves into groups based on their needs and abilities. Dr. Reyes hurried over to him, her face tense with worry. "Commander, I've been analyzing the station's damage reports," she said quietly, showing him her tablet. "Look at this pattern." Ethan studied the screen, his expression hardening. "The damage is too precise. Someone knew exactly where to hit the station." "That's not all," Dr. Reyes continued. "The attack began exactly 3 minutes after the chamber's security scan cycle reset. Someone with inside knowledge planned this." Ethan glanced around the room, now seeing it with new eyes. If Dr. Reyes was right, one of the delegates might be involved. "Keep this between us for now," he told her. "Brief Russell and Winters only." Ambassador Zoltar approached them. "Commander Hayes, your quick action has stabilized our life support. The delegates are impressed." "We're not safe yet," Ethan replied. "Security reports intruders heading toward this sector." Zoltar's blue skin paled slightly. "But why? The station's command center would be a more logical target." "They're after the diplomatic mission," Ethan said. "Their message made that clear. They don't want Earth joining the Confederation." Before Zoltar could respond, the communication terminal beeped. Chief Russell moved to it quickly. "Incoming transmission," he announced. "It's from Earth Command." The wire large screen on the wall activated, revealing the stern face of Admiral Jane Foster. Her gray hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and she wore the formal uniform of Earth's United Defense Force. "This is Admiral Foster to Earth Delegation. We've received your distress signal. What's your status, Commander Hayes?" All eyes in the room turned to Ethan, who stepped forward. "Admiral, we're secure for now, but dealing with a hostile situation. The station has been attacked by a group calling themselves Purity Front. They've demanded Earth's exclusion from the Confederation." Admiral Foster's expression remained neutral, but her eyes narrowed slightly. "I see. And the diplomatic delegates?" "All present and unharmed in the main chamber," Ethan reported. "We've stabilized life support, but intruders are approaching our position." The Admiral nodded once. "I'm transmitting security protocols Alpha 7 to your devices now. Earth reinforcements are 6 hours away at maximum speed." "Understood, Admiral," Ethan replied. "One more thing, Commander," Admiral Foster added. "You have full operational authority. Protocol Shadowbox is now active." Several of the Earth team members exchanged surprised glances. Ethan simply nodded. "Acknowledged, Admiral. Hayes out." As the transmission ended, the chamber fell silent. General Cragg was the first to speak. "What is this Protocol Shadowbox?" he demanded. Ethan didn't answer immediately. Instead, he turned to Lieutenant Winters. "Kyle, secure the room. Full defensive positions." Winters nodded and began directing the human security team with practiced efficiency. "Commander Hayes," Ambassador Zoltar said, his voice carrying a new note of concern. "The Confederation representatives deserve an explanation." Ethan looked around the room, making eye contact with each delegate before speaking. "Protocol Shadowbox activates my secondary mission parameters. I am not just a diplomat." He paused, then continued. "Before joining the Diplomatic Corps, I served as commander of Earth's Special Tactical Response Unit. We handle crisis situations, hostage scenarios, and counterterrorism." Murmurs spread through the chamber. The insectoid ambassador Xylo clicked, his mandibles nervously. "You are a soldier disguised as a diplomat? This is most irregular." "Not disguised," Ethan corrected calmly. "I am fully authorized as Earth's diplomatic representative, but I was selected for this mission because of my background." General Cragg studied Ethan with new interest. "Your people anticipated trouble?" "We prepared for all possibilities," Ethan replied. "Earth has encountered resistance to our advancement before." A younger delegate named Counselor Vex from the mineral-based Lithari species stepped forward. "This seems convenient. Perhaps Earth staged this attack to demonstrate their value to the Confederation. The accusation hung in the air. Ethan noticed how several delegates shifted uncomfortably, some moving away from the Earth team. "That's a serious charge, Counselor," Ethan said evenly, "and one that makes little sense. Why would we endanger a station with our own people aboard?" Before Vex could respond, the lights flickered again. The main doors to the chamber shuddered as something impacted them from outside. "They're trying to break in," Chief Russell reported from his position near the door. Ethan turned to the delegates. "We don't have time for debates. Everyone moved to the intersection of the chamber." To his surprise, most of the delegates followed his instructions without argument. Even General Cragg directed his aides to the safer position. "Dr. Reyes," Ethan called, "your theory about inside knowledge. Did you identify any communication patterns?" She nodded, moving closer to speak privately. "Yes. There were unauthorized transmissions from this chamber just before the attack. The source was..." She hesitated, then whispered, "Counselor Vex's communication device." Ethan kept his expression neutral as he processed this information. He glanced toward the Lethari counselor, who was watching the humans with unmasked hostility. The door shuddered again, the metal beginning to bend inward. Lieutenant Winters and his security team took defensive positions, though their weapons were minimal. Standard diplomatic protection only. "Everyone stay calm," Ethan called. "We have protocols for this situation." "What can we do?" Representative Thorne asked, his plant-like appendages quivering. "Most of us are not warriors." "You don't need to be," Ethan assured him. "Just follow my lead." He turned to Technician Martinez. "Valeria, if we reroute power from the environmental systems to the door's magnetic locks, can we strengthen them?" She considered this. "Yes, but it would mean reduced life support for about 20 minutes. "Do it," Ethan ordered. "Dr. Reyes, help the species most sensitive to environmental changes prepare." As they worked, Junior Ambassador Flint approached. "Ethan, I served under you during the Ganymede incident," he said quietly. "The others don't fully understand who you are yet, do they?" Ethan gave him a small smile. "They're beginning to." The door buckled further and sparks flew from the control panel beside it. Chief Russell called out, "Commander, they're using some kind of energy tool to cut through." Ethan moved quickly to the center of the room. "All delegates, I need your attention. When those doors open, do not resist or engage. Let me handle the situation." "You?" General Craig rumbled skeptically. "Against armed intruders?" "Yes," Ethan replied simply. "Me." The general stared at him for a moment, then made a gesture of acquiescence. "Very well, human. Show us this special tactical response." As if on cue, the doors finally gave way with a screech of metal. Smoke poured into the chamber, and through it came 6 figures in dark armor, weapons raised. "Nobody move," shouted the Koi. "Lead intruder. We only want the humans." Ethan Hayes stepped forward, alone, unarmed, and seemingly defenseless. The smallest being in the room faced the armed intruders with calm determination. Behind him, the delegates of the Galactic Confederation watched in silence, about to witness firsthand why even the most imposing aliens would soon learn not to underestimate this particular human. Smoke swirled around Ethan Hayes as he stood facing the 6 armed intruders. From behind their dark visors, they regarded the small human with what seemed like amusement. "This is who Earth sends to protect their delegation?" The leader chuckled, his translator making the sound harsh and metallic. "Step aside, little human. We have no wish to harm you, only to ensure your kind remains where they belong, away from Confederation affairs." The chamber was silent. Every delegate watched with a mixture of fear and curiosity. General Craig had moved protectively in front of his younger aides but made no move to interfere. This was, after all, a human matter. "I'll give you one chance," Ethan said, his voice calm and measured. "Surrender your weapons and leave peacefully." The intruders laughed outright at this. Their leader took a step forward, towering over Ethan by at least 2 feet. Bold words from a creature so small. "Perhaps on Earth you are considered dangerous, but here..." The leader never finished his sentence. With speed that surprised everyone in the room, Ethan moved. His right hand shot up, striking the leader's weapon arm at a precise point. The rifle clattered to the floor. Before the others could react, Ethan had swept the leader's legs and put him on the ground with a controlled takedown. The remaining 5 intruders raised their weapons, but they hesitated, clearly shocked by how quickly their leader had been neutralized. Ethan didn't give them time to recover. He rolled forward, keeping low, and came up inside the guard of the next attacker. 2 precise strikes later, a second intruder was on the ground. The remaining 4 spread out, trying to surround him. "Take him down," one shouted. What followed left the watching delegates in stunned silence. Ethan moved with fluid precision, never wasting a motion. He seemed to predict each attack before it happened, countering with techniques that used the intruder's size and weight against them. When a massive attacker rushed him, Ethan sidestepped at the last moment, redirecting the alien's momentum into a painful collision with the wall. When another fired a stun weapon, Ethan was already moving, causing the shot to hit another intruder instead. Dr. Reyes watched with the other delegates, her scientific mind cataloging what she was seeing. "He's using adapted combat techniques," she explained quietly to Ambassador Zoltar. "On Earth, they're designed for humans to defend against larger opponents." General Craig's 4 eyes had widened in obvious surprise. "The human fights like a Vraxian shadow dancer," he commented, referring to a legendary martial art from a distant Confederation world. In less than 60 seconds, 5 of the 6 intruders were disabled, either unconscious or incapacitated. The last one backed away, weapon pointed at Ethan, who stood calmly in the center of the room, not even breathing hard. "Stay back," the intruder warned, his voice betraying fear now. "It's over," Ethan said simply. "Drop your weapon." The intruder's hand trembled. Then suddenly he swung his weapon toward the delegates. "I'll shoot them instead." Before he could fire, Ethan was in motion again. He closed the distance with 2 quick steps and executed a perfect disarming technique that broke neither the weapon nor the attacker's arm, though from the alien's cry of pain it had been a near thing. As the last intruder dropped to his knees, Ethan stepped back. He glanced over his shoulder at Lieutenant Winters. "Secure them." The Earth security team moved forward to restrain the intruders while Ethan turned to face the delegates. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Ambassador Xylo began making a strange clicking sound with his mandibles. It took a moment for everyone to realize he was applauding in his species manner. Others joined in, using their own cultural expressions of approval. From his position near the back of the room, Counselor Vex began edging toward one of the side exits. Ethan caught Chief Russell's eye and gave a slight nod in Vex's direction. The security chief moved quickly to block the counselor's escape route. "Going somewhere, Counselor?" Russell asked. Vex froze, his crystalline body structure reflecting, the emergency lights in sharp angles. "I was merely seeking a safer position." "I think not," Ethan said, walking toward him. "Dr. Reyes has identified unauthorized communications from your device just before the attack. Care to explain?" The chamber went quiet again as all eyes turned to the Lithari counselor. Vex's body color darkened with what his species would recognize as anger or fear. "This is outrageous. You have no proof." "Actually," Dr. Reyes said, stepping forward with her tablet, "I do. Your communication signature is quite distinctive, Counselor. It matches the encrypted signal that gave the attackers the station schematics." Ambassador Zoltar moved to examine the evidence. His expression grew grave. "Counselor Vex, these accusations are most serious. If true, you have violated the most sacred trust of the Confederation. The humans don't belong among us." Vex suddenly shouted, his composure breaking. "They're primitive, violent." "And yet," General Craig interrupted, "it was a human who protected this chamber while you betrayed it." The Zorlian's tone carried unmistakable disgust. Station security forces finally arrived, taking custody of the intruders and Counselor Vex. As they were led away, normalcy slowly returned to the chamber. Medical teams attended to anyone with injuries, though, thanks to Ethan's intervention, these were minimal. Ambassador Zoltar called an emergency session of the remaining delegates. They formed a circle in the center of the room with Ethan and the Earth delegation included. "What we have witnessed today is unprecedented, Zoltar began. Never in my long service to the Confederation have I seen such courage and skill. He turned to Ethan. Commander Hayes, you have shown us something about humanity that no diplomatic speech could convey. General Craig stepped forward. I must admit my judgment was in error. I believed humans to be weak due to their size. His 4 eyes fixed on Ethan with new respect. I failed to understand that strength takes many forms. One by one, the other delegates expressed similar sentiments. Ambassador Xylo suggested that the Confederation's security forces might benefit from human training techniques. Representative Thorne offered formal alliance with his people regardless of the Confederation's decision. When all had spoken, Ambassador Zoltar addressed Ethan directly. It seems, Commander Hayes, that your mission has succeeded beyond expectations. I am authorized to inform you that the Confederation Council will be voting on Earth's membership application ahead of schedule. 3 days later, in a fully repaired council chamber, the official vote was held. Earth was accepted into the Galactic Confederation by unanimous decision, the first time in Confederation history that a new species had received full agreement. As the formalities concluded, a newly arrived delegate from a distant system approached the Earth team. The massive alien looked down at Ethan with obvious dismissal. This is the human representative? The newcomer asked Ambassador Zoltar. Such a small species to join our ranks. Before Zoltar could respond, General Craig stepped in, placing a large hand on the newcomer's shoulder. Word of advice, friend, the Zorlian said, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber. He may be the smallest being in the room, but trust me, you don't want to mess with him. Across the chamber, delegates from 23 worlds nodded in agreement. Ethan Hayes simply smiled. Mission accomplished.